Hi everybody and welcome. I want to talk to you today about teachers and unemployment. Many people have been asking me questions about teachers getting unemployment during the summer. Hopefully this video will answer any questions that you may have. A disclaimer before we start, this video is not legal or professional advice. It's here for educational purposes, but you're responsible to do your own due diligence. So before talking about teachers and unemployment, let's talk about unemployment in general. So there are two types of unemployment people can get now. One is regular unemployment, which is if somebody was laid off from their job, then it goes by approximately 50% of their prior income becomes their unemployment. This type of unemployment, the regular unemployment, also has a cost to the employer if one of their employees collects this regular unemployment. Now during COVID-19, there's another type of unemployment called PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, and this is for anybody whose employment was affected by COVID-19. This is federally funded funds and does not cost the employer anything. Now, either way, whether if you're on regular unemployment or on pandemic unemployment assistance, either way you get an additional $600 a week for the months of April through July. It may just continue, or at the end of July now, we'll see what happens. But this extra $600 a week also is federally funded and does not cost the employer. So how do you know if you're going to get regular unemployment or pandemic unemployment assistance, or PUA? Well, if you're eligible for both regular and pandemic, they generally put you on the regular unemployment, or that's at least how it's supposed to work. If you're not eligible for regular unemployment and you're only eligible for pandemic unemployment, that's when you get onto pandemic unemployment assistance, onto PUA. So if you were laid off from your work, that's when you would go into regular unemployment. But how can you get pandemic unemployment assistance? Here are some of the basic ways that you can get onto PUA. One is if your place of work or your own work, if you were self-employed, closed due to COVID. I put closed in quotations because sometimes you can have your own work if you're self-employed and you just weren't able to do that work anymore because of COVID. So it's kind of like the business closed. We said before, if you were laid off, then you're eligible for regular. How about if you quit? So generally, if you quit your work, you don't get unemployment. Because of COVID, if you quit due to COVID reasons, you could get unemployment even though you quit. So for example, if you quit because of a COVID diagnosis or you're forced to quarantine, if you're the primary caregiver and your child's school was closed due to COVID, again, that could be a reason to quit and still be eligible for PUA. Or if unfortunately a family member has COVID and needs care and you have to care for them, that would again be an eligible reason for COVID. Or if you're going to start work and you couldn't start a job because of COVID, these would all make you eligible for PUA, for pandemic unemployment assistance. Just to keep in mind that all these eligibility requirements are at the time of application from when you're trying to apply for unemployment. So for example, if you're applying for unemployment in July, but you're applying for back pay from beginning or middle of March, then these are the criteria, the eligibility criteria that would have to be in effect in March, not in July. Here is a screenshot of the COVID-19 related questions that can make you eligible for PUA on the New York State Enhanced Application for Unemployment. So before we start talking about teachers in the summer for unemployment, let's talk about teachers in general. Well, teaching is just like any other job. If you're currently teaching, you're employed. If you're no longer teaching, you're unemployed. And if you're teaching part-time, which is 3 or fewer days per week here in New York State, then you're considered a part-time worker and you again may be eligible for unemployment. Check out the eligibility section on Home Unemployed. Okay, so what's different about teachers? If we said if you're teaching, you're employed, you're not teaching, you're unemployed, so what's different? The difference is this thing called the summer break. Well, if during the summer break and you work 1 year and the next year you're working at the school, just in the middle you have a summer break, so you're still kind of employed by the school, you're still a worker of the school, but you're just now unemployed for the summer. So during the summer months, are you employed because you still work for the school, or are you unemployed because for these 2 months you don't have a job? So that's the question we're going to try to answer during this video. So let's go through some scenarios and see if you're eligible for unemployment. Scenario number 1 is that you worked in a school, you finished teaching, took a break for the summer, and you're going back to teaching after the summer in September. You have a job to come back to. Let's see, would you be eligible for regular unemployment? Well, it depends. If you're working in the same school in September, again, that means you're only taking a break for the summer, coming back to the same school, then you're not eligible for regular unemployment. But if you're going to work in a different school in September, then you are eligible for regular unemployment because you're no longer working for the school that you were working before the summer. How about PUA, for pandemic unemployment? Then you could be eligible Either way, whether you're working for the same school in September or you're working for another school in September, you could still be eligible for unemployment as long as you have a COVID-related reason that's affecting your work. For example, you're going to work at a camp in the summer and that closed due to COVID. You're the primary caregiver and your child's place of care was closed due to COVID or other reasons that are COVID related, then you would be able to be eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance even if you have a job to come back to in September. How about if you finish the school year and you have no job waiting for you in September? Then you're eligible either for regular unemployment because you lost your job or for pandemic unemployment if you're eligible due to a COVID-related reason. How about if you might have a job in September? It's just a maybe. Then you're not confirmed the job and you're eligible for unemployment during the summer, even regular unemployment. If you do have a history of getting back your job in September, then you're not eligible for unemployment because that's called you're assured to have a job in September. If you're in such a situation and you're not sure, then why don't you ask? If you're like a first-year teacher, for example, and you weren't offered a job in September, so you just maybe have a job, then you're not assured of a job and you're eligible even for regular unemployment. Definitely, as we said before, you can also be eligible for pandemic unemployment if it's COVID-related reason that affected your work. How about if you're a part-time teacher? Then you may be eligible for unemployment even during the year when you were teaching, not just for the summer break. Make sure to check out the eligibility section on Home Unemployed and watch the video if you're eligible for unemployment. And you can see there about part-time workers, just like any other job that you may be eligible even while you're still working. Many teachers have asked me if getting unemployment will affect the school financially. So, if you get regular unemployment, then generally speaking, yes, the school or the employer needs to pay towards your unemployment payments. If, however, you get PUA, pandemic unemployment assistance, that's federally funded and the employer or the school does not need to pay towards it. Either way, whether you get regular unemployment or pandemic unemployment, the extra $600 per week that the employer or the school does not need to pay towards, because that as well is federally funded. Now that we covered the basics of school teachers during the summer break, let's speak about some specific scenarios that people have asked me about. How about if you were working in a school and you were paid via 1099? Can you get unemployment during the summer? Well, if you're paid via 1099, you're actually self-employed. You don't work for the school, you work for yourself. You're called an independent contractor, and as such, you're not eligible for regular unemployment. You're only eligible for PUA, pandemic unemployment, if you have a COVID-related reason for getting unemployment. And yes, you can get during the summer the PUA, no problem. Now, by the way, if you do get paid via 1099, make sure to check out the video and information about getting the grants for small businesses, because if you're paid via 1099, then you are considered a small business. How about if you work in a school, but you're not working directly for the school, you're working like for an outside agency, but in the school? Then you're eligible for regular unemployment. Even if you have a job in September, you're still eligible for regular unemployment during the summer, but you're obviously also eligible for PUA if you have a COVID-related reason to get unemployment. Here's a tricky question. Can somebody get unemployment for the time in between school and camp? What happened? If somebody's getting PUA, pandemic unemployment, because the camp where they were going to work closed, so they couldn't get that job, and that camp was only going to start, let's say, 2 weeks after school finished. So could they get unemployment for those 2 weeks between school finishing and camp starting? Well, here are my thoughts. If you're only getting unemployment during the summer because of camp closing, then you're likely only eligible for the pandemic unemployment assistance from when camp was going to start. If, however, you're eligible for pandemic unemployment due to another COVID-related reason that would have applied also in the beginning of the summer, then I'm thinking that you're likely eligible from the beginning of the summer from when school closed. Here's a very important question. How about if the school pays you during the summer break? So can you get unemployment during the summer? I'm getting paid. Well, here's the deal. If you're on a 10-month contract, that means you're only contracted to work during the school year when school is open and not during the summer, and you're just getting paid throughout the summer, then you're eligible for unemployment during the summer, even if they're paying you. Why? Because the payments that you're getting is for work that you did before the summer, not for the summer. Generally speaking, in order to be eligible for unemployment, you're not allowed to be earning more than $504 a week for every week that you want to claim unemployment. Here, it's not a problem if you get paid more than $504 a week during the summer, because you're not getting paid for work that you're doing this during the summer, you're getting paid for work that you did during the school year. Another question I got was, how about if somebody became eligible back in April and they're on unemployment, could they continue getting unemployment payments throughout the summer? And the answer is yes. Once you became eligible for unemployment, whether it was regular unemployment or you became eligible for PUA, for pandemic unemployment, then you can stay eligible for unemployment even if your original reason of why you became eligible doesn't exist anymore. For example, say you quit your job due to COVID, and then you became eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance, and then a few weeks later you recovered, but you're still unemployed. Yes, you can still get unemployment payments even though your original reason doesn't exist anymore. What does need to happen? You need to stay eligible based on the weekly certification forms you have to file every week in order to get payments. What would make you a problem, some examples would be, is if you refuse a job. It doesn't matter if that was your original job that you had, that they offered it back to you and you refused it, or if there was a new job that was offered to you and you refused it. If you refuse a job, then you have a problem getting unemployment unless you have a valid COVID-related reason why you're refusing that job. Another issue would be is if you're working 4 days or more a week, or if you're earning $504 a week, then again, you can't get unemployment for that week. If the following week you're working less, then you can get. Another issue would be is if you're not ready and willing and able to work a week, then you can't get unemployment for that week. Basically, look at the weekly certification form, and that's your eligibility requirement to stay on unemployment once you got on already. Okay, so let's go back to the very basic question of why is it that teachers can't get regular unemployment during the summer? It's going to be a little in-depth analysis, but we'll see it might be helpful to understand the reasoning here. How does regular unemployment work? Regular unemployment works that if you had a job, you lost it, and then you want to get unemployment. How much do you get is based on the wages that you earned at a previous job. They look at your previous job, one that you were laid off from, and they say how much did you earn there, and then they give you approximately 50% of that as your unemployment payments. Now the problem with a teacher during the summer who's returning in September to the same school, that's not a previous job than that school. They're still working for the school, so their school is still a current job. So even though now they're technically unemployed during the summer, but they cannot get any wages. In other words, the wages that they earned at the school can't be counted for their unemployment payments. And because to get regular unemployment, you need to have some sort of work history, what they're basing your unemployment payments on, a teacher is stuck, even though they're unemployed during the summer. The wages that they earn in the school is considered a current job, not a previous job, so they can't get any regular unemployment. So therefore, if a teacher had a separate previous job, then they could get unemployment. For example, let's say a teacher worked at a store for 2 years. They were laid off, let's say, in April 2020. Then they started working for a school. May and June, they worked for a school, and they're going to continue after September. In September, after the summer, they're going to continue for the school. Then they could get even regular unemployment for the summer. Why? Because they're going to get their unemployment based on the work they did in the store, not the school. So they could get unemployment during the summer, even if they're coming back in September, they can still get regular unemployment. So if a teacher can't get regular unemployment if they're coming back to the school after the summer, why could they yes get pandemic unemployment assistance, PUA, if they're coming back in September? Well, here it is. With pandemic unemployment, the amount that you get in unemployment is not based on a previous job. In other words, they can base your amount that you're getting for PUA, your unemployment payments, even on a current job. It's only regular unemployment that has that rule that it needs to be based off of a previous job. Let's talk about some of the pros of PUA. Well, we don't always have a choice which one to go on. We have to put in our information, and then we get put either on regular or on pandemic unemployment. But let's just understand why pandemic unemployment is better. So it's better for the applicant. Why is it better for the applicant? Because PUA starts at $182 a week. That's the minimum, $182. Whereas regular unemployment can start at $104 a week. So you're starting off, you could be getting $78 less per week if you're on regular rather than pandemic unemployment assistance. And by the way, the extra $600, that doesn't matter, regular or PUA, as we mentioned before. So that's why PUA is better for the applicant. How about for the employer, for the school? PUA is better because PUA, as we mentioned before, is federally funded. So it shouldn't cost the school or the employer anything if an employee goes on pandemic unemployment assistance. Whereas if somebody gets regular unemployment, then it does likely cost the employer or the school to pay towards it. I sure hope you found this video helpful. Please share any feedback that you have. For any further information about unemployment or all other COVID-related assistance, please go to homeunemployed.com. If you know any friends who are teachers, please share this video with them so they can find out what they are eligible for. And if you want to be notified of any future updates that I post, please subscribe. Good luck and stay safe.